Like you can absolutely write the script, and all I've ever said, well, I've said a few things over the years, but one of them is Tommy Robinson and the lights. I mean, have they ever said, you know what, Freemasonry, Theosophy, humanism, the New Age, but we're dealing with a fucking 10% of society that's hell bent on destroying the rest of us. Has he ever said that? No. But apparently, potentially millions of people have come down to London, one of the most surveilled states, really, when you think about it. The City of London, various other aspects, but it's one of the most surveilled cities in the world. In fact, China looked at London in many ways to roll out its own variation on, the Chinese-style social credit score. But remember, it's always about order out of chaos, so you have to validate that every aspect of your life has to be tracked. And, like I've covered it in recent vids, but, it will be like the back of the hand or the forehead or something. I suspect the back of the hand for no other reason than, people have been groomed already to wave their hand to get into things and all the rest of it based around, all these invisible bugs. But what is it ever? Look, all I've ever said in relation to protestations is historically it never works. Didn't work in the early noughties when Blair said, I believe it, and I keep saying this, there is such a difference in law. If you said, I know there's weapons of mass destruction, well, once you found out there weren't, you said you knew. Well, my God, could you imagine the outcome for him? But he said, because legally trained, I believe. That's what I thought at the time. Well, how do you argue with that? Yeah? But Tony, that puppet, and various others have been pushing for the digital ID card. Now, remember, it's all about order out of chaos. And look, I'm not necessarily saying, and look, he may have done every day that he was apparently inside. But you have to also ask yourself, did he go in the front door and come out the back door? I'm only saying this, it might not be the case, but you've got to ask yourself this question. Why? What's the motivations? Who's handling you? Seriously. It doesn't matter if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 million people in London. Thanks for that, Bella. What is it historically it's ever done? Seriously. And remember, the association with it, for example, the England flag over the last few years has been based around people like Tommy Robinson. What is Tommy Robinson? Do you believe, if you're naive enough to believe any of this, what do you think he's going to do? He's not talking about the 10%. He's not talking about the society within our society. So what's he expecting out of people? If we just stand strong and we do, what, let's even look at it tactically. Yeah. I mean, I do honestly think that some people out there think that, if we just all run on whatever, what changes? Historically, government has always been set up for civil unrest. Historically. So why would you be doing this? I noticed even, what was his name? Reverend Simon Sideways. I'll be down on the 13th. And there's another thing. Come on. Look at this. Honestly. The satanic calendar alone for September. But even throwing that aside, why the 13th? Seriously. Why the 13th? If anybody thinks this has got nothing to do with Freemasonry and obligations and, individuals like historically Albert Pike and the Third World War and, about how it comes about and all the rest of it, yeah? One of the most respected Freemasons of all time, Albert Pike. Yeah, think about this. 33rd degree, blah, 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 all the rest of it. Like so many of these occultists, I mean, they plan well in advance. And as Albert says, we'll give you your heroes. And ultimately, how does that work out for the rest of us? Yeah? You know me, I'm neither left or right. I just look at a bunch of occultist tossbacks that are about 10% of society, where their life is entwined with their obligation and the occult. Yeah? We're being played. When you look at the timing of this, and look at the timing of, well, you know, a certain individual in America, Charlie Kirk, yeah? Do you think, honestly, we're all being played? If you think that these are the solutions, and all I've ever said is, just recognize what you're living in. Seriously. Look at the councils, look at big business, look at the ideologies. Transformational change. These are all the puppets with an awful lot of useful idiots in amongst it. Seriously. I did a vid recently and it was who stands to gain? I did another one recently. We need new Scots to replace us, apparently. I'll leave you a link to both. I hope I'm making some sense. Obviously, I'm not a guy that goes along with the flow, but any of you that have known me long enough, I've been pretty much consistent all along. Seriously. Anyway, your thoughts, and I'll speak to you soon.